Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight TV edition. I'm Peter, that is Timmy, and we're working our way through Tales from the Crypt, the original HBO anthology series, and we're on season 2. This is going to be episode 4, and it's called Till Death. So full spoilers for the episode, as we always do here. This wasn't a great episode. This was kind of a mixed bag, I think. I think there were some things I liked about it, but it wasn't super fun. I think part of the problem as well is I always tend to dislike episodes of TV where there's either, in this case, it's like a voodoo theme with like tribes people, or typically in shows if they've got like a Native American focused episode where I'm thinking of like an episode of the X-Files where like the Native Americans have like a werewolf legend or something like. I feel like especially shows from this era don't treat it very well. Like it feels like here the black characters are just here to be voodoo masters and stuff.
Voodoo masters and like servants to the white people. It's
made worse when one of the white characters refers to the food as a bit too ethnic.
Yeah. It's definitely of its time, I would say. Like I think looking at it on today's lens, there's a lot of problems. But yeah, I feel like I definitely don't think when they made it at the time that there was any like, hateful intent or anything like that.
No, I don't think that either, but it's just
it is kind of rough.
It's rough to kind of swallow all of it. Now, to be fair, the character who does make that ethnic comment is supposed to be a bitch, even like in this. And they also, I actually didn't realize until later on when you see the tombstone that it's actually set in 1948. I assumed it was
true.
Present day, like when it was made. So we have essentially a character called Logan, and I don't think they ever actually say what country they're in. If they did, I missed it.
I didn't catch it either.
Yeah.
Just whatever random voodoo country it seems like.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. All we know is it's hot, the native people are black, and there's like a voodoo, thing going on. That's my cat scratching the scratching post in the background, if you're wondering what that noise is. So this character Logan, he's like this rich boy who, well, he's kind of rich. He's a gold digger. We get this sense that him and his doctor friend, who's English, have not accidentally, like purposely not saved his wife's life in the past so that he'll inherit her money. By the way, the doctor friend was probably my favourite character in the episode. Because he was so over the top British and sleazy about everything that I kind of enjoyed him just for his over the topness.
Yeah, he was good. I probably preferred the Margaret character, but more towards what she becomes in the end.
Okay, sure, yeah, but I think just from the start, because he's got a very sort of it's jolly good show, and it would be a shame if we kill your wife, wouldn't it? He's got a very over-the-top sort of British thing going for him.
I like when he even mentions, hey, why do you think I got kicked out of, England in the first place?
Yeah, because I might have made a mistake with one of my, diagnoses? Whatever. Diagnosis. So, he's bought, this land, and he wants to build a hotel here, a popular 5-star hotel resort for people to come visit this place. But he finds that the land that he's purchased, he really should have looked into this before he paid for the land. But it turns out the land is a quicksand, it's a swamp, and to build there will cost an enormous amount of money that he does not have, because they'll have to fill it in and do whatever they do if you're building on that kind of land.
Very quicksand.
Very, yeah. Anyone who goes into it sinks within seconds. It's basically a vortex. It's a black hole is what it is. It looks like quicksand. But he runs into Margaret at this at wherever he's staying, at the hotel that not the hotel he's building, the hotel that he's staying at, and he chats her up, And when he realizes that he needs this money, he tries to, you know, flirt with her, But she's this awful human being who does nothing but complains about how crap the service is,
Yeah.
how awful the heat is, how everything around her is not up to par. She's just awful, and she has no interest in him.
Now, to be fair, he gave it like 10 seconds
Oh,
before running to.
don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. They've already implied at this point that he let his wife die so they can inherit the money. So he's already an awful person. But it's funny that within 10 seconds of hearing her talk, we're like, no, I sympathise more with him than I do her.
Yeah.
She's worse. She's actually a worse human being than he is. But he goes to his ex-girlfriend, who happens to be a voodoo priestess, and says that he needs some help getting her to fall for him. And she just, like, off her shelf, here's the potion. One drop, will make her be your wife, and two will keep her for life.
Yeah, this is probably the most asshole thing he does. Like, I mean, going to your ex and trying to get them to help you, like, with this new girl you like, is so messed up.
Not letting his wife die to inherit the money? That wasn't more of an asshole thing?
I mean, we don't know much about his previous wife. She could have been a monster, for all we know.
No, I think the letting the wife die is the worst. Don't get me wrong. I agree that this is not a nice thing that he's doing. I absolutely am on board with that. But
it's just so awkward.
Yeah, it is awkward, especially the way they talk to each other. And but yeah, so he gives her a drop. It doesn't seem to work at first, but then Margaret comes into his bed, like into his hotel room late at night. Her dress or nightgown is flowing. And then he says, Margaret, what are you doing here? And she leans in and goes, call me Maggie. Oh, so it's a wonderful line. It's funny. I have lots of problems with this episode, but there's a lot of good moments in it. The further it gets going, there's more things to enjoy as it gets kind of crazy.
Yeah. It's a slow burn, but there's some good stuff by the end.
Yeah. Next morning, after they've had sex, presumably all night, he, for some reason...
Probably 5 times.
Yeah. He, for some reason, despite being warned that more than one drop will be more extreme, he puts in like 5 more drops.
Now, I thought maybe he was just going to do another one to get the 2 for life, but I like that he kind of does that, and then he's like, screw it. And just like, it's like half the bottle.
So he gives her 5 drops, and almost immediately she dies on the spot. She just dies. He calls his doctor friend in, and it's like, she's gone. And of course he didn't marry her first, because it's just the night after they first slept together. So he goes back to the voodoo priest and basically strangles her. Like this is where it gets kind of like also kind of murky for me. Like it's like, all right, he's fully on strangling this woman now. It's like, so not only there's a lot of racial stuff that feels a little bit off and kind of dated, this also feels a bit weird. But anyway,
and the only like consolation I have is like he's gonna get like something bad happening to him.
That is true. I think. I mean, sure. Like, if a woman you knew had just like basically murdered someone, like I guess you would probably go a bit further than what you should do. But at the same time, though, he didn't really like her. He just wanted her money.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, he's awful. All the characters are awful.
Which is that like the 3rd
Gold Digger
episode we've had?
Yeah, this is now the 3rd Gold Digger we've had in this show. Oh dear. So yeah, but anyway, Margaret comes back to life because, of course, as the twist says, the whole once for wife, twice for life, meaning that as long as he's alive, she'll keep coming back to life because he's not dead yet.
Now this is interesting. They buried her like right. I'm assuming probably not very far from where they were staying.
Yeah, that's a good point. This is actually a very good point. They bury her in this country when the whole time we've seen her alive, all she did was complain and say, "I want to go back to England," and I'm like, well, so her family's obviously in England. The people who give a crap about her are there, if anyone does, because she's awful. Let's be honest. but they didn't fly her home to be buried
Yeah.
with her family. No, they have a funeral where it's just Logan and his doctor friend and the
Yeah.
priest.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
Do we want to
And
read
then
into this? Has she been disowned by her family? Is this like a just a subtext that we can read into here? You know?
she a Bruce Wayne type who has like inherited her fortune and is
She's an orphan.
traveling the world.
Yeah, she's an
Yeah.
orphan. Yeah. She was training to be Batwoman, but unfortunately, she has met her fate thanks to Logan and his stupid love potions.
Oh, maybe the sinkholes are Lazarus pits.
Oh yeah, maybe. But so he seems quite happy at first. They basically have sex right next to the grave.
Well, yeah, like she, like it's not like she, like, just like, well, she like digs herself out. Like she pops out,
Like a zombie. She digs
yeah,
her way out of her grave like a zombie does.
and like he doesn't even like question the fact that she would have had to have broken out of her coffin and like climbed through this dirt.
It's actually really comical because she bursts out of the dirt and goes, "Darling!"
Yeah.
Oh dear.
And then, no, you're right. They pretty much bang right on the grave
Yeah,
site.
right next to the grave site. Yeah. And next day he comes in and she's made breakfast for him, and her face is starting to look a little bit funky, but she's mostly okay.
Yeah.
And she leans in and says, "Right, I've made you all this breakfast. You're going to need your energy if you're going to have sex with me 5 times a day." Very specific.
Yeah. I wonder if I wasn't counting, but like you mentioned earlier, like 5 drops, maybe it was 5 drops he put in. I don't know if that.
Maybe, I don't know. I was just kind of ballparking it. I wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a weirdly specific number, and I'll be honest with you, it doesn't sound that pleasant. After a couple of times, it gets kind of tiring.
Speak for yourself, Timmy.
All right.
But no, yeah. So she wants sex 5 times a day, whatever. But yeah, he invites Doctor Friend over, and he's like, "Yeah, you made a wrong decision there." He's like, "Well, why do you think they kicked me out of England?" No. Margaret's alive. He's like, "Yeah, that can't be possible." She then walks in behind him, now looking like decomposed, and decapitates Doctor Friend.
But before you get that, just something that just stood out to me a little bit is he says like, "Oh, no, it's impossible. I embalmed her," and I just thought that was interesting because it made me think of the movie and the monkey's paw story. That
Oh yeah. That's good. That's a good point. Yes, that story in the movie had the embalmed guy coming back to life.
yeah,
But yeah, so she decapitates him, which by the way is never brought up again. Really, I mean, we see him we see the head at the end,
Yeah.
but like after he deals with her and he thinks that she's gone for good, he never stops to think, "Oh, how am I going to explain the fact that he get decapitated?"
yeah. Also, like, why did she like? It's not like there was like it doesn't seem like there was anything where it's like, oh, he's standing in the way between us or
Yeah.
something. Like, is she just a bloodthirsty psycho now?
Bloodlust, Timmy.
Oh, of course.
Bloodlust. I have no answer for you. She just does it. I mean, it was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not complaining.
It was always nice to see a head roll on the table.
Yes. But of course, Logan runs in fear because now she looks like a monster, and
Yeah.
he runs out into the forest. He falls in the quicksand, but then she pulls him out, and then he knocks her back onto the lantern, and she gets set on fire. And that's when it's funny because at this point I was thinking she's starting to look like the Crypt Keeper, because actually, see when they run from the house, but like we don't see her for a little while they're chasing each other in the forest. And then when she steps back into the light, she's actually decomposed more just from the journey from the house,
Yeah,
which was
she's-
running.
Yeah, she's decaying at a rapid rate.
Yeah, but anyway, so I was thinking, she's starting to look like the Crypt Keeper. Like seriously, she looks like the Crypt Keeper, and then she even dropped a pun.
Yeah.
Because she's on fire because she's been knocked into the lantern and she's like burning. She's burning. I don't want to say alive because she's dead technically, but she's on flames and she says, "I'm just burning with desire." And I'm like, she's the goddamn Crypt Keeper.
I guess that's just something like death does to you.
Maybe. Anyway, he knocks her into the quicksand. He thinks he's done with it. Right, she's gone. Goes back to the house, drinks some booze, but then of course she comes sauntering in, even more decomposed, basically a skeleton with some chunks of flesh, and he grabs Doctor Man's like bag of drugs, and luckily he has a bottle that says poison on it, because a doctor would carry around a bottle of just poison, and he swigs it to kill himself. But he wakes up, of course, in the voodoo priestess's shack, and she has brought him back to life. He's tied up, and she's got the decapitated head of the doctor, who is now like talking as a decapitated head, because why not at this point?
That seemed like an unnecessary step for her to take, like to reanimate the head as well. But all right,
basically it all adds up that she's got revenge on him for the breakup. Like it feels like that's what the whole thing's been about. Because even the episode opens with like her and her like tribal friends like dancing around the fire, and she throws his photo onto the fire, and it feels like it's all a part of that. But unless that was implied that was actually at this part of the episode to bring him back to life, maybe.
Maybe
I could see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now he's just doomed to make sex with this. Make sex. Why did it? I mixed my sentences up. To have sex with decomposed Margaret. Call me Maggie.
Which, I mean, as far as some of the, like, just dessert endings we've gotten here, it's not the worst.
Well, they're both kind of doomed, and they were both awful people, so I guess in that way it kind of works.
Especially, I don't know if he's gonna start decaying now, but I mean, if he gets to a point where he's just a skeleton, I mean, then they're not a bad match.
True, but he's not got the love spell on him, so whereas because she's like into it because of the spell, he's not. Which rough going. I mean, there is fun stuff towards like, see when it gets to the point where she's like a corpse chasing him around. That was fun. Like that was when it got like fun and silly and kind of campy.
Yeah. I like the way she looked. Like I thought the effects were pretty good.
She looked quite good.
Yeah.
The only thing was when she did that thing at the end when it was like the slow motion coming in to kiss him.
Yeah.
And you could see her tongue, which was proper disgusting, but you could tell that the skull was on her round her face.
Yeah.
And they just sort of like darkened her mouth area so that you could hopefully not see it, but you could see it. You could see her mouth like underneath the skull.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird, but I guess that's like
it had a little bit of a like old school charm to it. I feel like. Yeah. So like it's not the best special effects, but you kind of combine it with everything, like with the time period and stuff when they filmed it, and it's like it looked cool. But
yeah, no, I thought she looked quite good generally. So, so yeah, kind of a weird episode, like some fun stuff, but not a lot of dated elements and things that just feel very un PC.
Yeah,
2016.
I would say out of all the ones we've watched, it's definitely on the lower end of the spectrum, but I still enjoyed it though. Yeah,
I enjoyed it more as it got going. As it got to the fun stuff in the second half, I really get into it. But like I said, I'm never big on the whole voodoo sort of episodes of these things.
Yeah, it's a little. I definitely understand what you're saying. It's one of those things.
Even when it's not dealing with like tribal people and stuff, like even like an episode of Buffy, Inca Mummy Girl, which kind of has that kind of thing going for it, or even the voodoo guy and the pack. Even though the pack was a kind of fun episode, but like like those were kind of like, I'm not really keen on this setup for the episode, regardless of even the un-PC elements that a lot of them tend to bring in.
Yeah, I hear you. It's a very like tight line to walk in.
Yeah, because it's always very like, okay, white people are normal, and then you have, look at these weird people of a different race who do all these magic things. They have access to magics because they're weird and different. It's like, no, go away.
Yeah,
stop it. Stop it. You're just adding to weird stereotypes here. Don't do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's Tales from the Crypt, Till Death. Season 2, Episode 4. Let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. Remember, we will be back next weekend with the next episode. And of course, remember and check out our weekly movie reviews from Screams After Midnight. This week's was, of course, a terrible movie that came out this year called Satanic. We talked for an hour about that and how bad it was.
Oh boy.
So check out that. There'll be a link in the corner, as always, and at the end. But yeah, thanks very much for watching, guys. Keep watching Scary TV. We'll see you next time.